G'day IB psychologist. Let's look quickly at how you can write the perfect evaluation for your IA in IB Psych. Now there's actually a number of things to do here, and if you miss any one of them, it can really affect your marks. So listen carefully, take down a piece of paper and write some notes. Maybe look at your first draft already and compare it to this video. Make sure you're doing everything that you need to. First of all, in the evaluation section, you're going to state your findings, right? Clearly summarize your findings. What did they show? Now, you can relate these to the background study if you like, and it's probably recommended you do that. But the most important thing you do after you write your results is you must connect it to the background theory or model. What theory could you use to explain your results? Or what theory were you testing in your investigation? The multi-store model, the working memory model, the dual processing model, schema theory. It must be some sort of theory or model. If you were testing an effect like the Mozart effect, the anchoring bias, or the heuristics, then link these to a theory. The dual processing model, the working memory model, something, but they must be linked to a theory or a model. Okay, and it should have the word theory or model in the title, right? That's a good clue to know if you are using the right theory or not. Now, the next part is just attention to detail. Most students miss doing all three of these things. You have to explain, you have to evaluate the sample, the design, and the procedures, not just one or two or just one of them, all three. You also have to put strengths of each, limitations of each, and suggest modifications. And I suggest having a modification for each as well. Now, you might, when you're planning this out, maybe just create a table. Just create a simple table like this, and now you know, oh, where's the space missing, right? In my notes, okay, right, I forgot a limitation in my design, I need to go write that out. Okay, I wouldn't put a table in your evaluation. I wouldn't format it like a table, just because academically speaking, that's not how we present papers. So I would recommend just the table for planning, and then once you've written it like this, you can then write it out in full sentences. I'd also recommend, there's lots of different ways you can structure it. A couple of ways you might try. Do each of these in turn. The sample, strengths of the sample, limitations, modifications. Then move to the design, strengths, limitations, modifications, then to the procedures. You can even have subheadings, right? Make it really clear for your reader that you're evaluating all three of these parts. Or you could do strengths, 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 right? And then go limitation, modification, limitation, modification. However you structure it, I would definitely recommend that you partner these, that your modification directly follows the limitation. It's the sentence directly after the limitation, just so it's clear that the two are linked. Now, how exactly do you evaluate these three things? Remember, when we evaluate studies, there are three things we have to consider: practicality, validity, and ethicality. Now, of those three, as much as possible, try to focus on internal validity. Maybe you'll look at external validity for your sample, but I would really try to analyze your procedures and look. So for your procedures, right, did you clearly measure? Were your measurements accurate? Were the tools, the materials that you used appropriate for the task? Really look carefully at your procedures and look how carefully controlled were your variables. Was there some other factor that could have influenced your results? Same thing with the design. Now, a common error students make here is they think our design was an experiment, right? Our design used random allocation. Your design is specifically referring to independent samples, repeated measures, or matched pairs, right? And so that's what you're focusing on here. And so try as much as possible to avoid very superficial generic evaluations like a strength of our procedures were our standardized instructions were clear and easy to follow. A strength of our sample was it was easy to get participants, right? A strength of our design was that it was just easy to do it on the same person the same day. It doesn't show much analysis there, and it just sounds like you're really valuing most of psychology is about how easy you can conduct an experiment. We're looking at how tightly controlled we can conduct this experiment to make sure that our results are have very clear causal relationships. Now, if you can't think of anything, just write the first things that just make sure you've got one of each. That's the best advice I can give. Make sure you've got one strength for each of these, one limitation, one modification, and then once you've got one of each, really go back through and carefully think about each one. Again, don't forget to link the results to the theory. You might even want to do that in your conclusion just to make sure you've got all bases covered. If you do all of these things, it can be very possible to get in I mean, if you do them well, right, you're definitely going to get in the top mark band for a 5 or 6 out of 6. But a lot of students, they miss out on easy marks, they get marked down because they just simply forget to do one of these things. So number one piece of advice, make sure you do all of these 5 things and then as much detail as possible later on. Okay, good luck. I hope that was helpful.